pen pals. Thank you for joining us for a special episode on the Gold Spot Pens channel. Today we are here at the Piggyback Bar in Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm joined by a special guest here today. He is the Global Marketing Manager for Pelikan in Germany, and his name is Jens Meyer.
Hello.
And welcome to the show, Jens.
Thank you. Hello, Tom.
For the viewers at home, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for Pelikan.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm the Global Marketing Manager for Pelikan Fine Writing Instruments. I'm working at Pelikan for 18 years now. So I started in 2000. I started in the sales department. One of my first trips was to the US, so I also know our partners in the US here for a very long time. And then I went through different positions in sales and marketing. And 3 years ago, I took over the position as Global Marketing Manager for Fine Writing Products, which was always my aspiration.
What you wanted to get to. So
correct.
Where did you start in the company back in 2000? Like, what kind of position was it?
It was an international sales manager.
Okay.
I was responsible for sales in various markets, especially overseas. And this is also how I came to know Pelikan Fine Writing Products, because some of the markets I was taking care of, like the US and Japan, are very strong markets for us for Pelikan Fine Writing Instruments. So I got acquainted with these products very early, and I fell in love from the beginning, and I always wanted to work with these products.
You have to know what you're talking about when it comes to pens, because people will tear you apart if you don't know your differences between
and there are still a lot of people,
a 600 or 600 to 605. You know, they're going to know that you don't know your things. So, how has Pelikan and the status of the fountain pen changed since you started it back in 2000? How would you say it changed?
Well, I think there are a few changes that happened. On the one hand, certainly it's the internet, it's the shift from stationary offline business to online business, which has really changed the whole industry. So this is one point. So it's about how to promote the products, how to get in contact with the end user. That's a completely different picture now. On the other hand, I think there was a time where fine writing was kind of slowing down, especially after the financial crisis.
Right.
And so we are seeing the business picking up since 2015, 2016 approximately. Mm-hmm. And now we see a big trend that people like to go back to handwriting. They like writing with a fountain pen. They want to do things not digital, but with a pen and on paper. So that's a big trend in a lot of markets, and this is what is really promising for us.
Yeah, because at first it was essentially about like the way that you typically would shop for a pen would be at a store. You would see them out in the case like you would here. Correct. And you would then be like, oh, I'm interested, could I try and hold one in my hand and you don't get that experience with online, but yet online has surpassed brick and mortar stores as far as where the majority of the sales are coming from. But yet that's through like education, as far as like being able to show a bigger audience, as opposed to just like the people who walk into a store showing like the entire world what these pens are like and trying to experience them where they might not have the access to them.
Yeah, I think it's like both. The good thing about the internet and social media is that we can reach out to much more people and get to know our products to much more people. On the other hand, I always think that at the end, getting a pen, holding it in the hand, trying it out still is essential. So of course, if you know a pen or if you know a certain model, for example in the Pelikan range, then you have a certain experience, which then probably helps you for further choices. So I think it's a mixture between the two things, but definitely reaching out to a larger target group is something that is really important and really interesting for us.
What does the brand Pelikan mean to you personally?
Well, personally, just the fact that I'm working at Pelikan for 18 years now shows that it means a lot to me. After all, it's part of my life, I would say. It's a very special brand because of the long history, the long tradition. It's a beautiful brand to work for. Fine writing is one part of the business. We also have a lot of school and educational products. I think what makes it really easy to work for the brand and to fall in love with the brand is, on the one hand, as I mentioned, the history and the long story and tradition, but also it's the quality of the products that we're producing, so that you feel that it's something you can rely on, which makes it easy to convince people or to try to convince people that our products are of good quality. So this is really helpful, and after all, wherever I go within the Pelikan organization, there's a lot of passion, especially for the fine writing products. So if I go at the factory, meet the people from R&D, even customer service, everywhere you can see everybody is
passion.
Yeah, attached to the brand and really loves working for the brand.
That's awesome. What is it like to be an employee of Pelikan? Do you get free pens? Are your coworkers also pen geeks as well? Would some people like actually know like Gold Spot pens on YouTube, or like, you know, that they actually watch pen videos in their free time or things like that?
I cannot tell exactly. I think it's there are a few people. I know that there are collectors within the company. We're not getting any pens for free, so we still have to buy our pens ourselves. But you can see, especially now with all the newer editions that we have launched, it's always funny to see when you go to meetings and you meet people from different departments and you see your new pens and they already have it and you know, oh, they must have bought it. There's a growing number of people also watching videos, getting informed, following newsletters.
Keeping the ear to the ground, so to speak, yeah.
I mean, for me and my team and our social media team, it's kind of part of our job.
Right.
For the others, it's free time they're spending with this, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. Could you tell us about some of the initiatives Pelikan has taken out to reach out to the mainstream culture?
Yeah, I think the fact that we have started to work with social media shows, or was probably what shows best our initiatives that we have started. So on the one hand, it's certainly the Pelikan Hubs, which we started 5 years ago. It was a special idea, let's say, in the beginning, and nobody was really 100% sure that this is something that will work. We started in the first year with 700 or 800 participants worldwide. And now we just celebrated the 5th anniversary of the Pelikan Hubs, and we had almost 5,000 people registered for the hub. So for us, it's a huge success, and it helps us to spread the word not only about Pelikan, but about writing and handwriting in general, and getting together people who like to talk about handwriting, so that they can then spread the message. So it's after all, for us, it's not about Pelikan and the Pelikan products. It's more about creating like a general feeling or atmosphere where people think, oh, writing is cool and I want to know more about it.
And joining a global community of other people.
And if you realize that there are other people like you interested in this, then this even feels better. And we know from a few hubs, for example, they say, well, once per year, that's nice, but we want to meet more often. So they create like their own little clubs locally, and they meet every month or every quarter. So it shows that we have created like a common sense where everybody agrees to get together and talk about handwriting. And on the other hand, not so much into social media, we launched this year for the first time our Pelikan Passion magazine, which was a big step forward for us, because for the first time we tried to talk to our end users in a different way. So before, most of the communication was focused on product, and now we said, there's so much more to tell about the Pelikan brand, about the history, about the people behind the scenes, about how we make a pen. So all these little stories that we would like to share with all the people who like Pelikan and who want to know more about it. So we are really happy about this, and we definitely want to go on with this magazine as well, so that we somehow create more interest in writing and handwriting and fountain pens.
Exactly, and that's kind of what we had also tried to achieve with our we had reimagined a catalog, which is essentially just looking at just pens, pretty pens. So here's a nice pen, here's a limited edition pen, here's a pen with a gold nib, here's what this costs. But what we also did too is that we aim to achieve that common ground with the person that's reading it and say, like, okay, well, you know, you may have all of these different types of questions, like, you know, what kind of nib is right for my particular handwriting style, or like, where are all of the pen shows that go on in America throughout the entire year? And that's the kind of things that, you know, it has no necessarily financial benefit, but like it's so much more beneficial to the people who really get into this. And that's where, you know, we really felt strongly about putting this into like a magazine, just like with the Pelikan Passion magazine, is to really tell a bigger story than just like, oh, here's here's beautiful pens. This pen is $800. This pen is $500. Like people want to know, like, well, what is it that this does for me? Like, what is it that, how can this make my life any better?
That's really interesting. And also, like, for example, I was at the Hanover Hub the last years, of course, and people come and they do not only show their product, but they tell you the story, like, where did they buy it? How did they get it? Was it a present?
What is the key to convincing, like, the public to put down their cell phones and pick up a fountain pen?
I think whenever you take a note with a pen, it has a different importance for you, because this is something you write down personally and you read it again. And I also think that especially when it comes, for example, to learning or you learn better if you write things on paper than just if you read or type.
I commit it better to memory, yeah.
So that's the one thing. But I also think that for a lot of people, it's like a balancing a little bit their lives, because you spend so much time in front of the computer or the cell phone, and so to have some time where you just take your time and you write a little bit. I know that people are also getting back to writing in a journal, or so it's kind of slows down your life a little bit and reminds you of the basic things. So I think that's mainly it. And once you write, especially when you write with a fountain pen, you realize how your handwriting improves, and so you get back to things that you might have forgotten due to all the things going on around you.
It really does, like, give you such a much more clearer, like, sense of, like, purpose and just being able to kind of sort out what's going on in your head, and I think that's, like, one of those things that you just kind of have to let people get into the whole smartphone thing, and then when they get burnt out, that's when they have to look for other solutions, and that's where the fountain pen will always be to kind of, like, beckon you home and say, you made a mistake, but you're welcome to come home and enjoy, just writing down on a nice simple piece of paper. Yes. What are some of your all-time favorite Pelikan pens? Like, what would be in your daily carry with you?
On the one hand, I really like the 200 series, because this is like the perfect everyday writing instrument with a steel nib, very reliable, and now with the matching Edelstein ink colors, it really creates an interesting combination, I think.
So I brought mine as the cognac from a few years ago, and this one did not come with the matching Edelstein
at that time,
ink
no,
yet.
correct.
But this one actually had the italic nib, the gold plated italic nib.
Personally, my favorite pen I'm daily using is the M600 San Francisco, right, which dates back to 2000. I don't know exactly. 4 or 5.
Early 2000s.
I have a set with a matching ballpoint pen, and it has a 14 karat gold nib. I like the size of the 600 because it's not as big as the 800 and not as small as the 400. Right. So it has a perfect size, and that's where, when you write for a longer time, I really like the smoothness of the gold nib.
You're saying about the San Francisco. There was also that was part of the city's collection. Correct. That do you think that there would ever be like another like edition of pens that was thematically tied together, like that city's pen series?
Well, I think we still have these thematically tied together series. Like, for example, if you have here the turquoise white, which we launched this year, right, and it all started with a pink white pen in 2015, and in between was the white transparent. So here we created like a new line with lighter colors and more fashion colors on the stripe material. Mm-hmm. So it's not having like a common title or name, right, but you can see several pens following this idea, and so we are continuing in this direction. Just like we're also having the historic pens, which you have here, the 120 and the M101N lines. So also here we're playing with colors, with material, trying to often match products that were once produced in the past. So for the M120, it's designs of the 1950s, and for the M101N, it's the 1930s. So we're trying to keep these series going without that they have a special title at the moment. But okay, I think this is something I hear a lot, especially the City series, where very successful, and they are still very much appreciated. So it could be an idea for the future.
Yeah, it's not like it has the Golden Gate Bridge on it or anything, but like it just the fact that it is part of like a thematic series tends to kind of like, you know, resonate a little bit more with people who are collecting, and then they say like, oh well, I need to get the rest of the cities now. Like, you know, I have to go and the colors could match, like, or like maybe like the pattern, kind of like the stone garden. The stone garden, you know, is supposed to evoke the feeling of a stone garden, but like it doesn't really, you know, it doesn't have like stones on it, but like it just kind of like still gives that suggestion of it, but like kind of having like a series, you know, done after a certain I don't know, maybe like monuments or things like that, where I think that there was the wonders of the world that was done. That was a pretty appropriate, you know. I mean, those were like limited editions that had very ornate designs and sculptured and everything, but like something a little bit more, you know, like approachable for people who could, you know, let's say go for like a 600 or an 800, that sort of thing, But that would be cool. I think that would really be interesting. But you said your preferred souverain size was 600.
Correct.
I agree with that too. I like the 800, but like to me it's just like a little bit on the too big. Like I like to write with my pen's posted, and I just felt like with the 800 posted, it just is just too big of a pen. Like it's just too much for.
Well, it's more heavy, which I kind of like, but if you write for a longer time, then I prefer the 600. I also have an 800, which I like, and if it really comes to a signature or something special, I would take out the 800, the black and green, really the classy style, Pelikan Sovereign. But so for the daily writing, I'm using my 600 San Francisco, which I like very much.
Very cool. What kind of nib do you have on it?
I have a B nib on it, so I'm not following the trend towards finer nib sizes, which is going on in the market. For me, I need to have a lot of ink on the paper. That's what I like, and also, from my point of view, it feels smoother, and so that's what I really like.
Yeah. So the one thing is about with the people don't realize about like the nib size. Like sometimes people are like, oh, I only like fine or medium. It's like, well, you know, if you really want to see the beauty of like the ink color, especially you choose inks like the Edelstein or the fourth, like they have such density and such complexity sometimes to these colors that you don't see them when you have a thinner nib size. So the broad really shows it through very nicely.
Yeah. After all, it's personal taste.
Yeah.
You have to feel comfortable when you write with a pen. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. It's kind of like,
so there's no wrong or right.
That's the whole exploring of like different nib options and things like that. And I know a Pelikan US distributor here will actually do the nib exchange if you let's say get a Pelikan and you're like not in love with the nib and you want to change it to like, let's say something a little bit finer, a little bit broader. You could always, you know, do that within the first 30 days, which I think is great. It's like I don't think anybody else does something like that, you know, as part of the manufacturing process. How are the new special edition Souverain colors, like let's say Stone Garden or the 600 and the Vibrant Orange? How are they decided on? Do you spin a color wheel or use like reed tea leaves, something like that? Like how is that usually?
Interesting idea. We have a marketing team in Hanover, and so. We as a team, we look for new ideas, for new material. We work very closely with our R&D. So especially when it comes to new material, it's also the question, are we able to process the material? What are the obstacles? It's also a question of finding the matching colors. So for example, for the 205 olivine, it was not that easy to find the perfect raw material to produce this really beautiful olivine green pen, correct, and to match the ink and also to match the cap with the barrel. So it's a lot of work, and we work very closely together with R&D, with production, trying to find ideas there. And then once a year we have a meeting with the key markets. So we also have people from our US distributor, of course, coming, and we sit together and we as a marketing team present our ideas. Of course, we try also to somehow cluster them in certain areas. So what do we propose for limited editions? What do we propose for special editions in the different Souverain sizes? And so we are like making proposals and then trying also to have perhaps some prototypes or at least some material we can look at and based on that we decide together on our plan for the next year.
Any chance of being able to like hint for anything that's coming in the future, or am I, I can't. I know you can't spoil too much. But.
Yes, no, that's. So there's a lot of new product to come for 2019. That's for sure. We're working on interesting ideas. Of course, some of the things you might already, somehow predict yourself.
Some information.
Another really, I mean, there's one important thing to know for 2019. There's another anniversary coming for 2019. So this year we celebrated the 180th anniversary of Pelikan. In 2019 we are going to celebrate the 90th anniversary of the differential piston mechanism, because in 1929 Pelikan launched the first fountain pen with a differential piston mechanism. So this is definitely going to be a key theme for 2019.
That system pretty much has like stayed consistently the same as far as like how it's engineered and how it gets installed in the pens and everything. But really, it's like if it's not broke, why fix it? So it's one of those systems that continues to still perform extremely well.
Yeah, it was like a revolution at the time, because it was the first system really to help filling ink inside the pen without the ink being on the table on the paper without getting dirty fingers. So it was really special. Of course, it was improved over the years. So there's different material we're using today than we used in the past. So it's all up to the actual standard of technology, of course. But the system itself is still the same since 1929. For me, it's always it feels special if you open the ink bottle and you fill your pen. It's a special feeling. I like the idea of filling the pen like this.
Edelstein is one of the ones that are highly regarded. People enjoy writing with those a lot. If you ever have a chance to, like, let's say, switch departments, I would definitely, like, my own thing was I would switch to the ink department, and I would go play with colors all day. Do you work at the headquarters directly at Pelikan headquarters?
We have our offices in Hanover, and the factory is located about half an hour east of Hanover. Mm-hmm. So I'm working at the office in Hanover, but I'm spending like 1 or 2 days per week at the factory, because it's so much easier if you're close to the product. Right. You get the feedback from production, you know what's going on, and we have regular meetings where we discuss all the projects, and it's really helpful to work together as a team and Absolutely. To update each other constantly on what's going on, and this helps to produce that big amount of new products that we're launching year by year. So that's a lot of work for me and my team.
Jens, it's been a pleasure hanging out and talking Pelikan with you. Do you have any parting thoughts for our audience and our guests here today?
No, in general, I mean, if you have the chance to travel to Germany and you have the chance to come to Hanover or the Hanover area, we're doing factory tours at the factory, and I think anybody who likes fountain pens and who likes Pelikan should go there and see the manufacturing of the pens. That's really extremely interesting. I've seen it I don't know how many times, and every time I go there, there's something new I learn that really gives you a different view on the product. That's really interesting, and that's also something that we would like to explore in the future more through our social media activities, by providing like little films or movies, videos, where we can explain little details of the production, so that everybody understands why these pens are so special and what amount of work is going or labor is going into these pens. And also in Hanover we have the old historic Pelikan building, which dates back to 1905. It's under monument protection. It's a beautiful building, and in one part of this building we're having our archives and like a little museum and a very special historical hall with beautiful windows. So this is all it's a very historic place, and also this can be visited, so
cool.
It's worth a trip.
So it's like a museum, and it does have pens in it though, right?
Yes,
okay.
You see the pens from 1929 till today, and also the other Pelikan products that we're offering, whether it's school products or office products. So also there the history is quite interesting to see how things have changed and evolved.
Thank you, Jens. We appreciate the opportunity and taking the time with us to film this interview, and thank you to the folks at the Piggyback Bar here in Jersey City for allowing us to use the space here. I think the lunch crowd is coming in. They're looking angry right now. So without any further ado, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and always feel free to give us a big old thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe for more interviews and pen videos and all sorts of different fun things we do for our Gold Spot Pens channel. And stay inky, my friends. Take care.